Yes, indeed, folks, the sounds of Master Plan. It's awesome. What can I say? I love it. Right, what have we got to talk about? Well, I've got two things to talk about. Over the weekend, we did what I'm calling Game Fest. It was my first inaugural Game Fest where I did the unthinkably silly thing of inviting 8 listeners, most of which I knew relatively well, I must say, over to my house for a weekend of gaming fun, and it turned out to be highly successful. We did all sorts of things. We did, let's see, what did we do? On Friday, we played Munchkin and Munchkin Cthulhu, which was hilariously fun. We also played a few other games. Oh, I should tell you about this Munchkin experience. Those who don't know what Munchkin is a set of card games designed by Steve Jackson. Yeah? Steve Jackson was one of the guys who founded Games Workshop and continues to create awesome games to this day. Indeed, my first wargaming and tabletop gaming experience was in fact with a Steve Jackson game called Car Wars, which was stellar. Now, Munchkin is designed around screwing over everyone around you and winning. It's like a parody RPG / dungeon crawling game. And there are loads of sets of it. All manner of things. There's a Munchkin Fu, which I assume is a Kung Fu version. There's like Cosmic Munchkin, Star Munchkin. There's a board game version of Munchkin. There is a Cthulhu version of Munchkin, which we bought. There are also like 7 expansions to the Cthulhu version of Munchkin. There's a Pirate Munchkin. There's all manner of crazy things. And the best thing is, Steve Jackson doesn't care whether or not the game gets imbalanced by mixing sets. So it's like, mix them all together, see what happens. So we mixed normal Munchkin with 1 expansion with Munchkin Cthulhu with 1 expansion. Or Call of Cthulhu, as it's called. Which was very fun. And the thing about Munchkin is that cheating in Munchkin is not banned, it's encouraged, assuming you can get away with it. And the way to win Munchkin is to get to max level before everybody else. So, about an hour or so into the game, I was doing relatively well. I think I was on like 12 levels or whatever, but I was behind the leader. So what I did while they weren't looking was get enough counters stacked on top of my thing to show that I had 15 levels. Now, lo and behold, no one actually noticed that I had 15 levels there, and that was the level cap. And I just sat there for a while with 15 levels, just playing normally, not really pissing anybody off in particular, just trying to play it a little bit neutral so that I didn't get screwed over by the other players. And finally, when Stormgale said, "Ha-ha, I've reached level 15," I turned around and said, "Ha-ha, I reached level 15 30 minutes ago and none of you noticed. I win." Because I am that much of a bastard, what can I say? Anyway. So yeah, we played that, and we played Talisman, and we played a booster draft of 9th edition Magic, we played Street Fighter 4 on my 720p projector that I stole from my dad's workplace. By workplace, I mean church. I think I'm going to hell for that, but, you know, it's all good. And we played Death Tank 7-player, oh yeah. And what I will say is that everybody that I brought there sucks at Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Soul Calibur, because I had to, well, retire from the tournament, let me put it that way. Anyway, that's by the by. Because one thing we did play is the World of Warcraft adventure game. Now, there are 2 games out at the moment by a company called Fantasy Flight, which I must say, I do like Fantasy Flight. They put out some good products. They're a little bit pricey, but you know you're going to get quality. The first one is the World of Warcraft board game, which actually came out back in 2005, and we got to test at BlizzCon. Unfortunately, we tested it after BlizzCon was over, when we were all really tired, and couldn't really fathom the 75-odd page rulebook, nor could we take out the 1,500 counters that come in the box. And I believe Athelos embezzled that particular copy of the game and ran off with it, which is unfortunate because I wanted to take it home with me. Oh well, never mind. Now, that game is very good, but it's very complicated. So they released a new game quite recently called the World of Warcraft Adventure Game, which is it's not a dumbed-down version as such, it is a more traditional kind of board game experience. And what it involves is this. There are 4 heroes in the default game, and you can buy these other 2 character packs, which will give you 2 different classes. And you go around the board, and you start off in a city, and you get access to grey level content. Now, if you beat certain parts of grey level content, you will gain a level, which will take you up to green level content, then yellow level content, then red level content. And there's a big stack of encounter cards for each of these levels. There's like a grey plastic holder, a green one, a yellow one, and a red one. And they all have different level loot and different level monsters and different level encounters. And also on the board, there's stuff like dungeons which you can go into, and there are raid encounters which you can do in order to win Valor points. And the one with 8 Valor points at the end of the game, the first person to 8 Valor points wins the game. So yeah, it's like kill a monster, steal their treasure, and be the best badass hero in WoW. Now, personally, I enjoyed the game an awful lot. There is an awful lot of content there, and I think there's quite a bit of replayability. There are 4 classes, and each of them has 4 levels that they can level up through, and they have 4 different character cards. Whenever you level up, you get a new character card which has upgraded stats. You also have ability cards which form your action bar, and you can have all manner of different abilities, and even these abilities will also level up with you. So, say if you reach, like, green level, I believe the Serpent Sting or something gains power, and Arcane Shots for the Hunter at, I think, red level costs less energy to play and does 1 more damage. So, you know, it all levels up and it's cool, and it can get a bunch of different equipment, and there's cool encounters on the board. You can go do quests and all that kind of thing, which involve interesting objectives. So I personally had a lot of fun with it. Some of our players didn't really agree with it and thought it wasn't quite as good as, say, Talisman 3rd Edition with both expansions, which we'd played previously. But then again, what is better than Talisman 3rd Edition with 2 expansions? Very little, I must say. Incidentally, Fantasy Flight actually have Talisman now. They've actually bought the rights to it, and I imagine it is very good. I got the Black Industries 4th Edition, which wasn't that great, but there is an upgrade pack for that, plus an expansion. Tasty. Anyway, it's not about WoW. It's interesting to me that WoW inspires board gaming and card gaming and miniatures gaming and all manner of different merchandise, and I don't think it's just because it's a popular product that needs merch. There's a lot of popular products that don't get merch. Like, where's the Lost board game? You know, the 24 board game. Do they exist? Maybe they do. But I don't see a 24 card game or a 24 miniatures game or all stuff like that. It's a very good niche demographic to market that kind of product too, because we are gamers and we appreciate this kind of thing. Most of us, I would imagine, have played board games, enjoyed board games, and kind of like to play board games and CCGs and war games and that kind of thing. I certainly do. I like all of those things. Now, the Warcraft Adventure game is definitely worth it. I picked it up for like £25, and I certainly think I got my money's worth, and you can get it even cheaper in the States. So, if you've got a few friends that would like to play it, go play it. It is pretty faithful. It's got a lot of interesting experiences, and indeed, even the spares? What? What am I doing? Try it again. The squares on the board are actually made up of screenshots of the game, which is pretty nifty. There's a lot of replayability. It's pretty easy, I'd say. It's not particularly complicated, it's easy to get into, and it's a lot of fun. However, a long time ago, I told you that I was developing a board game. Yes, I actually came up with an idea for a board game, and I thought, hey, let's try and develop it. Of course, me being the person that I am, I tend to take on projects that I can't actually finish, and the idea died. However, I'm currently in this situation where I have nice long lunch breaks and a bit of downtime in my job. Yeah? I tend to work in spurts. Yeah? I might get like a bunch of stuff on my desk at once and I'll have to get it all done, but then for the next couple of hours, all I'll really need to do is maybe answer the odd telephone call from a client or company. Aside from that, I get to do pretty much whatever I want. And what I've taken to doing, of course, is typing up and enhancing my board game idea. And I have currently got to about 8,000 words in my board game, and it's coming along quite nicely. The systems behind it are relatively solid. I've rethought a lot of my old stuff, got rid of the stuff that was a bit clunky, and redesigned it. And what's the idea behind it? Well, here's the storyline. I'm going to actually pull up this document right here. I have it as a Google document. I've created this Google document, and I'm going to keep it updated. So I'm just converting it at the moment. This is the new version that I updated today. And this is the idea. Fat Loots. Rise of the Scrubs. Here's the storyline. Kel'Thuzad has invaded Azeroth with all his undead might. All of the real heroes are currently engaged in brutal fighting to defend their homeland, with no end in sight. However, it seems Kel'Thuzad has sent all of his most deadly creatures and minions to the front lines, leaving him alone in Naxxramas. Without proper heroes to assault the necropolis and slay Kel'Thuzad, it falls to you, the Scrubs, to end the Scourge invasion once and for all. Unfortunately, your horribly mismatched gear is nowhere near powerful enough for the task, and you must gear up quickly in order to face your destiny. The prize? Eternal recognition, and a one-way ticket, if grudgingly, into the most powerful guild in the world, Kungan Tanks All. Yes, indeed. I am that silly. What can I say? Now, the idea behind this board game is that you play a scrub character, and there are 9 different classes you can play. You can go around the board, and you can visit various locations, and the idea is to gear up through encountering raid encounters, and every single old world encounter up to Naxxramas is going to be in this game, including all of the world bosses. And you'll be able to defeat raid encounters and roll on loot tables and acquire loot, and if you don't like the loot, you can shard the loot. into gold and use it to buy other loot. Oh yes. And there is full PvP combat in the game. And I think it's going to be quite a bit of fun. My rules are coming along quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with it so far. And the best thing about this is it's going to be free. Yes, this game is going to come out. I make this pledge to you that I'm going to have this game out before BlizzCon, because I want to take it to BlizzCon and I want to show it to Fantasy Flight and say, hey, I made this game. And maybe, no, this is a bit of a pipe dream, but maybe, just maybe they might agree to make it. If it's good enough. Who knows? But until that time, it's going to be released in a printable form for all of you guys, including all of the WoW community, and I'm going to be putting an actual beta out as soon as it's available. And you guys are going to be able to shake it down, find the imbalances, and we can get this game perfect, and then release it properly for free for everybody to enjoy with your friends. Now, I'm just going to publish this document. Let's see, there we go. Publish document, published on the web. And it's going to be linked in IRC. This is a new version of the rules. For those of you who've been reading in the Donators forums or on my Twitter, this is a new version, and you can check it out. I'm just sending it to Ariana, my faithful IRC rep, and also wife. You know, kind of handy. Send it to Ariana, and she shall post it in the IRC. Let me tell you a little bit more about it, just because I'm kind of psyched about this. I'm pretty pleased that it's actually coming together, and it is coming together relatively well, at least in my honest opinion. So, how does a turn work in this particular game? Well, you start on your town square, and there are two town squares. There is an Alliance town square and a Horde town square. One is Orgrimmar, the other one is Ironforge. Think about it like a Monopoly board. You've effectively got two goes. Yeah? You pass go. You don't collect 200 gold, but there are other things you can do. On the board, there are several things. There are several grind squares where you can roll in order to get extra gold. There are several quest squares where you can pick up quests in order to earn gold, items, and loot. And there are several blue please squares, yes, self-insertion for the win, whereby a variety of horrible meta events will happen to you, including the ice stone has melted, where you are able to flood a particular area of the board with the melted ice stone and drown anyone that doesn't have a water walking ability. Yes, silliness like that. Now, the main features of the board are the raid instances, and there are 3 tiers of that. There are AQ20 and Zul'Gurub on tier 1, Onyxia and Molten Core on tier 2, and Blackwing Lair, AQ40, and of course, Kel'Thuzad on tier 3. There are also a couple of world boss squares where you can encounter the 4 Emerald Dragons, High Lord Kazak, and, of course, Azuragus. Now, you go around the board, and you start off with terrible gear. Bear in mind, this is based around scrubs. For instance, here's a description of one of my characters, Ponzor, the Undead Rogue. And this is his story. Ponzor only ever wanted to be a twink, hanging around in level 19 battlegrounds, building a reputation as the world's best PvP rogue. Unfortunately, while coming home from the tavern in Goldshire, he accidentally ran over a boar and levelled. Unable to continue with his twinking career, he reluctantly levelled up, but found that he really wasn't particularly good at his class, and that all the guilds were full on rogues. So here he stands today, guildless, useless, and thoroughly awful. Yes. And each class has a set of abilities that you can use, as you might expect. Now, you go around the board, and if you land on a raid square, you can encounter the next raid boss. And yes, all of the bosses are there. They all have separate stats, and beating a boss will result in you being able to roll on the loot table. If it's an item you can use, you may equip it. If it's not an item you can use, you may shard it and sell it at a city square. You can then use that gold to buy all manner of things. There is a mounting system in the game. You can buy a normal or an epic mount, which all have a variety of different advantages. You can buy elixirs, flasks, enchants, and items on the AH and crafting markets to supplement the gear, which you have no doubt not got because everything that drops was cloth, and you're a warrior. So yeah, it's got full PvP combat, it's got a very cool system behind it, and I'm very, very excited. Yes. I'm going to be developing this over the next few weeks in my lunch breaks. It's going along quite nicely, and I hope to have a playable version out momentarily. And by momentarily, I mean, like, I don't know, maybe in a month or so. If you would like to get involved in this game as a graphic designer to help me design the board, because I would like a pretty cool style. I would like a kind of comic style on the board and in the gameplay manual. If you think you can help me out with that, then email themurloc@gmail.com with a sample of your work. Just kind of cartoony stuff. Think Munchkin. If you don't know what Munchkin looks like, then go Google Munchkin. Look at the images on those cards. That's what I'm looking for. If you think you can draw like that, then email me, themurloc@gmail.com. And hey, who knows, you might go to fame and fortune atop the great cruise ship of gaming awesomeness that is the board game design market. That's not really that great, but, you know, it works. My name is Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please on WoW Radio. The name of this track is Code of Honor. The name of this band is a not-so-well-known metal band called Deadlock. I'll be right back after this with The Illusion of Choice. Enjoy.